Hey there, it's Leslie at Leslie's Cookies and Treats, and a little while ago, a viewer asked me to do cookies for Hatty Hattington, and so it's taken me a little bit of time to get around to these because I had a lot of other things already on the schedule, but I finally got to do Hatty Hattington, and I have to say, I have no idea who this is, but he's a super cute dude, and I had a lot of fun making him. So if you have a suggestion of what you'd like to see, please leave a note in the comments. Anyway, I'm using a detail consistency royal icing, and I'm just going to outline all of the different sections and then I'll flood them in. And every now and then I'll stop and use my scribe to settle down any peaks or bumps as I stop and start with my icing. Okay, all of the sections are outlined except for the hand, which is too small, and I'll do that with some edible paint. And now I'm just going to use a 15-second royal icing and fill in each of these sections. Some of these sections are quite small and I don't want them to crater, so I'm going to use my scribe to make sure the icing gets all the way down to the cookie. And I'll also use my scribe to get my icing out to that black line because I don't want to pipe over the top of that line. And I did go over the line a little bit, so I'm just going to take a dampened paintbrush and wipe that away. And then I'm going to put just a dot in the neck here and also down at the bottom where his shirt is and use my scribe to fill that in. By just putting a small dot and using the scribe, that area doesn't have very much icing and it will be lower than the other areas of icing that are next to it. Now I'm giving the white icing a little bit of a chance to dry while I move away and pipe the brown icing. And I'm also going to wait a little bit to pipe the brown that's in between these sections on the hat. Again, giving it a little bit of a chance to dry while I move back down to the jacket. Because of the black outline that we did with the stiffer consistency detail icing, I really don't need to wait for each section to dry before I pipe the next one, but it still makes me feel better just to wait a little while and move around to different sections because I want to make sure I do keep that definition between sections and I don't overflow any areas with my icing and go over that black outline. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but my brown icing is also a 15-second consistency. My scribe is one of my favorite tools. I know it's tedious watching me do that to a lot of these cookies, but it's really necessary and I don't want to leave it out. It really makes all the difference in having a nice smooth finish to your icing. And I'm just going to finish flooding in these remaining couple of sections and then I will let the cookie dry completely. And for the lapels on his jacket, I'm just going to lightly fill those in right now, but I'm going to come back later and put another layer over the top so it has some dimension and is higher than the rest of his jacket. And you can't tell, but I'm using a really light green color here for the mug. Just doing the handle and filling in the mug, and then once that dries, we'll come back in and do the hand. So I let my cookie dry, and now I'm going to come back in and overpipe the lapels on both sides to give them some dimension and raise them up a bit higher than the cookie. And I'm also going to outline sections of the cookie again with my black icing in a detail consistency. Once again, using my scribe as needed to settle down any peaks where I start and stop with my lines. And because you've already watched me outline the cookie once, I'm just going to kind of speed through this part. And I'm going to outline everything but that lapel that I just piped because it's still wet. Now let's move up to the hat and go ahead and put in the belt buckle using a yellow icing and a detail consistency. And now I'm using a detail consistency white icing to add the hand. So I'm just going to pipe in the palm and the thumb of the hand, and then I'll use my scribe to kind of shape it and settle that icing down. And then I'll let that dry for a little bit while I go back in and pipe in the other lapel using my scribe to settle that icing down and get it out to the points. And then I want to overpipe the bottom rim of the hat, giving it another layer so that it stands up higher than the belt buckle and higher than his face. So when you want to do that, just take your icing and put another layer down and use your scribe to settle it down. He's looking good and we're almost finished. So moving back to his hand, I'm going to use my stiffer detail consistency white icing and I'm going to make 3 little fingers. I know that's kind of hard to see with the reflection of the lights, but I just piped in 3 little fingers. And now I'm going back and outlining the lapels and the last section we just piped of the hat. I'll add a little white button to a suit and then let the cookie dry completely. So my icing is completely dry and I'm using a projector so I can trace over the images that are on the coffee mug and on his shirt and place his eyeballs in the proper place. I'm using edible markers by Rainbow Dust and by the Tweets Connection, And the brown edible marker, I'm not sure where I got it from, but I'll leave a link in the description with all of the products that I used. If you don't have a projector, you can use tissue paper to trace where the marks are on the cookie. And here I'm just using my brown marker and putting it on my paintbrush so I can get the color into this tight little area. And then I have some edible airbrush paint, and I'm just going to outline the hand because it's such a small area, you really can't do that with the marker. He's really coming together. I think he's really an adorable character. I don't know what he is, or if he's happy or sad. He kind of looks sad, but anyway, I really enjoyed making Hattie, and I also made little faces, so be sure to check that video out too. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.